Canterbury has finally claimed the top spot in ASB's latest regional economic scoreboard released this morning. The scoreboard ranks the economic performance of our 16 regional council areas based on population, employment, retail trade, house prices, whole bunch of stuff. Take a look here at the full rankings and you can try and spot how well you have done. We're of course looking at Q1 for 2025. This is the national state of play for New Zealand's economic fortunes around the regions. Joining us this morning is Nick Tuffley, Chief Economist at ASB, to break it down. Nick, good morning.
Good morning.
Good to have you on the program. Just to start with, we have heard from one of the banks in the last 24 hours that they expect inflation, we had the food price numbers out yesterday, inflation will get outside the Reserve Bank's band of 1 to 3% in September. What's ASB's view?
Well, we do see a risk that it's getting up quite close to 3. Now, the main thing that's nudged it up in recent times, we did have some data out yesterday, but also it's just simple things like fuel prices are going up. Your last story about Iran in Israel, we've seen oil prices jump up. So there's that risk that we do see that bounce in inflation this year be just a little bit stronger than what people were thinking.
Right, let's get to the numbers for the regions. Canterbury reigns supreme, impressing you across the board, pretty much everything. Consumer spending, confidence, population growth, housing market.
Yes, look, it's been a very solid performer, and often we've seen it up near the top of the rankings for quite some time. So it's done very well, and it is that sort of evenness that we're getting in that region. And often the South Island has been doing quite well in recent quarters too. So it's not just a Cantabrian story. I am a Cantabrian, sorry. So results aren't biased, I have to say, but we are seeing that strength in the South Island.
But we're also seeing that rural-urban divide still, aren't we? I mean, the top 4 spots are again secured by the South Island, and we're seeing that, you know, high commodity prices flowing through, and tourism into some regions as well. Meanwhile, your cities are left high and dry.
Yes, there has been quite that split for some time. And look, when we look at the GDP figures as well, it's certainly showing that those drivers. So that GDP figures at the end of last year, it was those sort of agricultural, pastoral sectors that were doing it. First quarter of this year, GDP we're getting out tomorrow, heavy weighting it looks like towards those agricultural, tourism, sort of horticulture areas. So the big cities, particularly Auckland, weighed down by that big mortgage. Wellington, weighed down by all the uncertainty around the government restructuring there. So really standing out for being at the bottom end of the rankings.
Yeah, the province is the place to be. When do you see this turning around? For people who are watching from the main centres this morning, when do you see what's happening in the regions flowing back through to the cities?
Well, there's 2 parts to it. We are just getting the taps turned on the money in some of those regional areas like dairy. The payouts are really strong. That money will start flowing through there and into the bigger urban areas. But the big one also is mortgage rates have fallen a lot, but not everybody has refixed onto a lower rate. So we're going to see a lot of that later on this year. So we should see those larger urban areas starting to pick up more noticeably as the year progresses.
Coming back to the CPI for a second, does the potential for us to get outside a band mean that we're probably going to see the Reserve Bank hold again in July?
Well, we do think the Reserve Bank will hold in July and cut a bit further after that. We had that view before this week's sort of news.
And this doesn't change anything, what we've seen this week?
Yes, I think, look, it just reinforces that we're likely to have a pause. The Reserve Bank's just nervous that inflation goes up, we all go, oh, here we go again, 10% inflation, and we all change our behaviours. And there's just that little bit of nervousness, and they're likely to just want to wait and see some other data in August.
I know, but no one wants them to wait and see. Well, no one in Auckland wants them to wait and see more data, do they? No one with a mortgage in Auckland wants them to wait